the Purpose-Driven Entrepreneur Podcast. We're all about delivering great content, thoughtful discussions, and tips and tricks to help you truly get the most out of your life and business. And here's your charismatic host, me, Matt Brauning.
Good morning. What a good Friday morning. I am doing a bonus podcast episode, and of course I'm live on Facebook right now. So if you're listening to this on the stream, congrats and thanks for listening. I appreciate you so much. If you're watching this live on Facebook, hello. Feel free to comment below and let me know you're here. So today I put in the description, we're going to talk a little bit about what a busy week looks like for an entrepreneur in their life and how to handle it, how to manage it. How to manage it sometimes really, really well and oftentimes very poorly. I think I'm a great example of both at times. So this last week has been incredibly busy. Normally I'd be on Monday, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that next week. So next week I'm going to tell you what happened on Monday. I went in for a little, they call it a procedure, as Billy Crystal would say in City Slickers. It wasn't a surgery, but it was just a little procedure, and came out just fine. But I was out and sedated for most of Monday. And then the week took off. Tuesday, I had 9 appointments back to back. Phone calls, Zoom calls, one on Skype for some reason. It's a lot. And then Wednesday went on, and then Thursday we had meetings with team reviews and over again. And here we are Friday. One of the fun things is, on Friday, today, this morning, I am literally recording this. If you can see it on Facebook, you can see I'm in my car. I'm in the Jeep. There is a bunch of stuff in the background because I'm on my way out to go camping. I'm literally sitting outside my son's school. I'm going to have a really special moment with him when I get to go pick him up. He gets called out of school early for no good reason, right? I mean, we're going to say he has an appointment, and the appointment is to go camping and climbing. So I'm hanging out. It's going to be a fun time. So I want to fit in, vacation. I want to fit in the time to manage and lead everyone. I want to fit in the appointments and the projects we're moving forward with. Still working on the book. I'm fitting in moving that forward. General phone calls. I had a couple sales calls this week. And then, of course, also personal time as well. So a couple of things. I've talked about this in the podcast before in different areas. I did one on time management. If you look back through the archives, you'll find a really cool podcast on time management and the 4 different quadrants of time and how to lead in those effectively. See you, Missy. Missy's just saying hi and see you later because it is Friday morning, 9:45. Who can watch live right now? I don't know. Mostly those of us with no lives. So if you're in there with me, I'm glad you're here. So hang out for Friday morning because we got nothing else going on. But if you're listening to this on the stream or however you are, then get it when you get it. So the first thing I look at is, let's come back to time management for a second. The first thing I always look at is outcomes. I think about the week and I think about outcomes in mind. What is something I want to get accomplished or something I want to experience, right? So this idea of like pulling Val out of school and heading off for a camping trip, that's an experience that I want to make sure I have. So it's a matter of, okay, well, that's going to happen sometime early Friday morning. The other thing is I knew I had this medical thing I had to take care of. And again, I'll tell you more about that probably in the next episode on Monday. I have a fairly big announcement of some stuff going on in personal life, very exciting things. But I'm going to, again, I don't mean to open a loop on you, but I'm going to tell you that a little bit closer next week. But, I knew I had to do that. So ultimately what it comes down to is if you have outcomes in mind or experiences that you want to make sure you get, you could probably fit, to me, it's almost up to 1 a day, right? But if you wake up in the morning and you have an idea of what you need to accomplish, a couple of outcomes, right? The day might get busy. It's going to get busy. And in fact, the more you do in life, the busier your business gets, the harder it can be sometimes to keep those things in mind. But what I have to start doing, I'm just going to put this over to, there we go, silent. I get so distracted when I see friends go in and saying hello and hi and everything. So I'm going to pause comments for a second. When I wake up in the morning, have you ever done this? Have you ever woken up in the morning and just felt like, there's so much to do, but I'm not sure why I'm doing it. I'm not sure what I have to do first. I kind of just want to go back to bed. And I've definitely had a few of those mornings lately that I just, again, I'm always transparent as a leader. And I think, some days I wake up feeling amazing and ready to crush it. But other days I wake up and feel like, I don't want to get out of bed today. and I look at my calendar, and I did this recently, sometime in the last couple of weeks. I looked at my calendar day and I thought, is all of this necessary? Like, what is this actually accomplishing? I looked at every single task on the calendar, every single call, appointment, and I realized this. Some of the people that I had scheduled a call with or I had a task on there, I thought, gosh, this isn't even someone just said, hey, I want to catch up with you and talk about something. And I thought, oh, cool, of course, right? I'm a people pleaser. For the most part, if someone wants to talk to me, I'm going to talk to them. But I've been having to realize lately, I've really had to start guarding my time. And I don't mean that from an elitist point of view. I'm sure you get that. But I think like the busier we get, the more we have to steward our time and pay attention to it and really guard, right? Like who gets it and where do I put it, right? Where do I put it to? Like I don't want to just spend 3 hours hanging out doing nothing. I'll spend 2 hours with my family watching a movie because that's spending this family time. We're having fun together. Or I'll grab, 15 minutes with Val in between school and homework or before dinner or something. And like yesterday, we played Uno for like 20 minutes to get a new Minecraft Uno game. And I just thought, man, like that's important. That's that minute that's an experience, right? So he remembered that moment and he talked about it that night. He talked about it this morning. He was like, I want to play Uno again. And man, I mean, have you ever played Uno? Goodness sakes, it's not that fun of a game. Like, it's not that much to it, but what you bring to the game is what makes it fun, so we just had a blast doing that. So I made sure there was a little bit of downtime in between. The other thing I realized this week is, so let me kind of recap there. So make sure that you think in outcomes and experiences, and do this. Try this out as a fun little game. Look back in your week. Just go back in the schedule and think about all that you did or experienced for the last 7 days. It's Friday right now as this podcast drops. So think about even just the last 5 days since Monday. And write down how many experiences did I have? I mean, experiences that I'm going to remember at least for a few weeks, right? Did you have a magic moment with somebody? Did you have a moment when you just, you really poured into someone else's life and spent time with them? Do you have a moment that stuck out as extremely fulfilling for you? Did you have a moment or an hour or two where you made major progress towards something, right? Again, I'll keep coming back to the example of I'm working on releasing the new book coming up July 13th. The ebook comes out. Hardcover is going to come out and get published on August 13th through Unprecedented Press Publishers. And when that happens, I have been working a ton on the book, but I can look back in this week and think, okay, did I make major progress towards that? And a week ago, not this last week, but the week before, I spent a good hour and then another like 90-minute section. And I went through the final manuscript and did like some final rewrites. I rewrote the ending of the book. I'm going to share that in the podcast at some point, by the way, in the next few weeks. I'm going to share a little bit about the book coming up, and we'll talk all about that. Some really, really cool insights into the different drives that drive us to create what we create. But like I look back and go, yeah, that afternoon was well spent because I made major progress on this one thing and I finished that chapter, right? I finished the ending for the book. And that's a huge piece. What you can't find yourself doing is getting caught up in the day-to-day of, because have you ever sat back and think, man, I'm so glad I spent all that time on the dishes. I'm so glad I vacuumed all that carpet. I'm so glad that I went grocery shopping for a third time this week. So that leads me to number 2. The second key to manage a busy week is what, of course, we would call stacking events. So I'm always trying to take the things that are not outcome driven, the things that are not experience driven, right? Magic moments, things that I'm not going to remember next week, things that don't really matter, but I still have to do them. And I'm going to find a way to stack as many of those as possible all next to each other. So if I have to clean up, for instance, I'm going to take, maybe right after or right before I shower for the morning, I'm going to go, I'm about to hop in the shower. Before I do, I'll quickly unload the dishwasher, wash the new dishes, put them in, hit start, vacuum something, clean up the living room. And all of that really took maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then right after that, I hop in the shower, I get dressed and ready for the day. So now I'm like 40 minutes in, and I spent just 40 minutes in the morning, but I accomplished a bunch of tasks, a couple of different chores, and my daily routine, and all of it was stacked back to back with no margin in between, right? If you find yourself doing task-oriented daily routine stuff, and you do something, and then you take a break, and then you do something else, and then you take a break, you'll find yourself, before you know it, it can be, especially, again, entrepreneurs, man, if you make your own schedule, for goodness sakes, if it's 9:30 in the morning in California time and you're watching this live, or you're streaming this live, for goodness sakes, you probably have time on your hands. You probably have a schedule like mine, and you're like, oh, Matt's on, I'll check it out. So don't get caught up. Like, for goodness sake, I love that you're on here, but you should probably not be on here right now. You should probably wait till the podcast drops. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad you're here. But really, if you're going to take my advice, like, stop watching live and go start doing some of those 2 or 3 or 4 things. Good, someone dropped off. I'm glad. Very, very proud of you. Do those 2 or 3 or 4 tasks back to back, right? And as you do those tasks back to back, you might spend, again, 30, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, and you'll get a bunch of chores accomplished that you have to do, the mindless stuff for the day. And then it's done. And then you have no other excuses, right? I'm dressed, I'm eating, I got my food prep done, I got the dishes taken care of, I got some stuff cleaned up, like I'm ready to rock. And I'm just sitting here going, well, now I have nothing else to distract me. Nothing to distract me. Now what do I do? And then when I don't want to, what Brian Tracy says is eat that frog. I love that term. He's got a book called Eat That Frog about taking your biggest, ugliest frog of the day that you have to do and basically eat that frog first. So do the biggest chunk that you're not looking forward to, do it first. When you now have a list of outcomes and all of your distractions, your chores, your daily routine stuff is all done, now what, right? There's no other excuse. So then you either decide to be lazy, which is cool sometimes. Hey, if you had a big week, go be lazy. But then you're not faking yourself. Oh, I'm just going to take a rest just for a minute. No, you're just going to be lazy for a minute. And then if you sit down and turn on the TV, or you turn on a video game, or you scroll through social media, and you're like, oh, like, what do I need to do right now? As soon as I end, which is going to be in a minute or two. This is just a bonus episode, real quick. Before I end, or right when I end, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? Are you going to go, oh, that was neat, and then scroll through your news feed and keep looking? If you're watching this on YouTube, or are you going to, like, finish this video and then pop on to the next one and then look at some puppies and some kittens, right? Or I don't know, what do people even look at? Look for a Joe Rogan podcast, right? Which is a cool podcast. But what are you going to do next? And if right now in fact, ask yourself this question. What type of activity am I right in the middle of, literally right here, right now, as I watch or listen to this? Is this distraction time for you? Which, by the way, is totally cool as long as you acknowledge it and know what it is. Is this a downtime for you, right? Where you're like, hey, I just worked, I'm going to take a break, or I just did something great, I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to scroll through and see what's going on, post some photos. Oh, I saw something's happening on Facebook, or I'm going to check my podcast. Or is this charging time for you? See, I have some time during the day or during the week that's like personal growth and spiritual growth time. So during that time, I might read the Bible. I might read a book about, some origin story about, an entrepreneur or something. I might go on to podcasts, and I'm going to go listen to someone that I really like to listen to grow in. So, like, ask yourself, is this growth time? Is this relaxing time? Is it distraction time? What am I actually in right here, right now? Why did I stop and watch or listen to this dude named Matt right here, right now? And then the next question is, as soon as you finish, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do? My advice would be either go to the next if that's what you're in the middle of doing, or close it up and decide what's my big outcome for the day. My last piece is this. Here's what I want you to take away. Look at your schedule for the next week. Look at the calendar for the next, it's Friday. Again, as this is dropping, you might listen to Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever. But basically, look at your next week starting Monday. And every day of the week, just pick 5 days. 5 days of next week. And ask yourself, what's my major outcome for the next 5 days? Each day could have, for me, up to one big outcome. The better you get at it, the more you can do. But what's one major, if you said, man, if I accomplish nothing but this one thing on Monday, that would be a dang good Monday spent, right? What's the thing you want to accomplish on Tuesday? Now, it could be anything, right? It could be, you know what, I'm finally going to go get that gym membership and go work out. I'm finally going to raid my cabinets and get rid of my junk food and go fill it with, go get some vegetables and eat differently. It could be I'm going to write a chapter of my new book, right? It could be I'm finally going to call back 3 people that I know I need to reach out to that might be prospective sales, and my attitude is I'm going to close at least one of them, right? So think about what this would mean. If you set a major outcome in business, in life, over the next 5 days, one big outcome for each day, what if you just literally achieved one scalable, powerful outcome per day? Just one. Now, could you do more? Heck yeah, you could. But if you just did one, what would it mean for your business? What would it mean for your life? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right, I'll leave you with that awkward silence, thinking about what you are going to do, because this is not about me, it's about you. I love you. I see a bunch of faces up here. So I see, Susan and Raphael and Jim and Janet's on here, and Tina's on, Ben's on. What's going on, buddy? I'll see you in the UK in a couple of weeks, or a month, I guess. That's going to be awesome. Oh, good. Ben says he's waiting for pizza to arrive time right now. So that's the chunk he's in. That's really, really cool. Awesome. If this is useful for you, by the way, could you put a little comment below? If you're watching this live, just comment, yes, I need this. If you really need to start thinking about how can I further prioritize my day, my week, how can I make myself more effective, how can I honestly get more out of life than I want? So if you're watching this right now, hit yes below in the comments so I know that it's relevant for you. If this was useful, feel free to share it. I'd love a share. That's a really, really great thing to do. Share it on your timelines. If you're on YouTube, hit a thumbs up. If you're on the podcast, make sure you've subscribed on the podcast itself. So this will be, again, dropping today on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast, you can get it. But make sure you subscribe and rate and review. If you haven't already, please do me that favor, man. It would be so useful. Rate and review. I really appreciate that. It does more than you know. And hey, this is free content. You're not paying a dime for this. You never will. So, hey, what do you expect? It's free content. But I would love at least a rating. That would be really cool. Thanks, everyone. Hope you had a great time. I'm going to enjoy the weekend. I know you will too. Get out there and crush it. Do something.